I welcome Dr. Ronie Thomas to present.
Thank you, Irene. Thank you, Vincy. So, let me start today's presentation. Yesterday, we have discussed what are the international perspective of human rights, how UDHR, that is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, is protecting or safeguarding our rights, etc. Today, we are going into the details of what is the Indian perspective, or how India is protecting, how the constitution and the other redressal mechanisms is working in India for the protection of human rights. So first,
law is a very powerful weapon. പക്ഷേ ആരെ രക്ഷപ്പെടുത്താൻ വേണ്ടിയാണോ നമ്മൾ അത് ഉപയോഗിക്കേണ്ടതെന്ന് വളരെ പ്രധാനമാണ്.
താമസിക്കുന്ന സ്ഥലത്ത് പട്ടയമില്ല, പിന്നെ റേഷൻ കാർഡും ഇല്ല, വോട്ടർ പട്ടികയിലോട്ട് പേരുമില്ല.
അത് ഇവരുടെ തെറ്റാണോ? സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യം കിട്ടിയിട്ട് 50 വർഷമാകാൻ പോകുന്നു, എന്നാൽ ഇവരുടെ കയ്യിൽ ഒരു അഡ്രസ് പ്രൂഫ് പോലും ഇല്ല.
ഒരാളുടെ പേരിൽ ഒരു കേസ് മാത്രമേ പാടുള്ളൂ, നിയമമൊന്നുമില്ലല്ലോ. ഓരോരുത്തർക്കും 2 കേസ് വെച്ച് കൊടുത്താൽ
തെറ്റ് ചെയ്യാത്തവർ ആരായിരുന്നാലും എത്ര പേരുണ്ടെങ്കിലും അവർക്ക് നീതി ലഭിക്കണം. അത് തെളിയിക്കേണ്ടത് നീതിപീഠത്തിന്റെ കടമയാണ്, ധർമ്മമാണ്.
രാസകണ്ണ്, മസുകുട്ടി, ഇരട്ടപ്പൻ, ഈ 3 പേരും ഹാബിച്വൽ ഒഫൻഡേഴ്സ്.
ചെയ്യാത്ത തെറ്റിന് ചെയ്തോ ചേച്ചേക്കര സമ്മതിക്കും സാർ.
My lords, police being continuously foul-playing this case.
മോഷ്ടിച്ച സ്വർണം പണയപ്പെടുത്തതായി എവിഡൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. 3 പേര് ഇവിടെ സ്ഥലം വിട്ടതായി ട്രൈബൽസ് ഇന്നസെന്റ് എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞ് രാഷ്ട്രീയം കളിക്കണം.
അല്ല സർ, ഞാൻ ഈ കേസ് തെറ്റായ രീതിയിലാണോ ഹാൻഡിൽ ചെയ്യുന്നത് സംശയം. This case is nothing but a scandal. ഇനി ഇത് ലോക്കൽ പോലീസ് ഹാൻഡിൽ ചെയ്യാൻ.
so this is the controversial film of our times, that is Jai Bhim. So I hope many of you have watched this film. This film, or the whole story, is the real life story, and so many hard realities of India, that is realities of human right violation, realities of Indian society is portrayed in this film. Can you identify some of the brutalities or human right violations in this?
Law is a very powerful weapon. പക്ഷേ ആരെ രക്ഷപ്പെടുത്താൻ വേണ്ടിയാണോ നമ്മൾ അത് ഉപയോഗിക്കേണ്ടതെന്ന് വളരെ പ്രധാനമാണ്.
There is denial of rights.
പട്ടയമില്ല, പിന്നെ റേഷൻ കാർഡും ഇല്ല, വോട്ടർ പട്ടികയിലോട്ട് പേരുമില്ല.
It is a story of unidentified human being. Those don't have their rights, their political rights. Denial of right to life is there. Atrocities against women, Dalit, tribals, those doesn't have any identity or ration card or voters ID, and most importantly, the police atrocities that these tribals, the cruelty, the torture that they are facing. So at this juncture, I think we all must ask ourselves, is that their fault? Is it my fault? Or is it our fault? There is denial everywhere. There is negligence everywhere. Or is this the fault of Indian state? So this is a reminder to all of us to act against injustice, inhumanity, torture, abuse, etc. In the light of this, let us discuss human rights in Indian context. The hard realities in India is that we have social issues. We have the issue of caste, class, gender, poverty. Then political issue, the identity crisis is there. There are many thousands, hundreds without the vote to right, without any representation. And there is unemployment, denial of economic activity, and the most worst is the marginalization of women, children, minorities, the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. And when we go back to the concept or the evolution of the concept, we can see that Indian society hardly believes in Chaturvarna system. That is, society is hardly divided into 4 castes. That is, the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Everything revolves around this identity of individual. And when we think of human rights, it is considered that everything is value based or it is on the basis of dharma. Do you think it is everything, everywhere it is same? Do you think in India we have value system when it comes to human right violation? The 1993, that is when India accepted the UDHR, and the parliament passed the Protection of Human Rights Act. And it defines Human Rights Act as the rights relating to life, liberty, equality, and dignity of the individual. And these rights that is guaranteed by the Constitution or embodied in the international covenants. International covenants, you remember there is UDHR and ICCPR and ICCR. And in India, the Protection of Human Rights Act says that our life, our liberty, equality, and dignity is guaranteed by the Constitution and enforceable. It is enforceable by the courts in India. So let us see what are the constitutional provisions we have and how courts are protecting us and what are the redressal mechanism. Before that, we know recently, that is on November 26th, we celebrate. We have so many celebrations. We have Republic Day, Independence Day. So we have a new day recently for last 6 or 7 years. We are celebrating our Constitution Day in November 26th. And we uphold that the preamble, the Constitution is protecting all our rights. And what is in the preamble? Preamble is just the introduction of the Constitution. We have borrowed it from the US Constitution. And the preamble contains the whole philosophy of the Constitution. And this preamble signifies that. See, the important words signified in Indian Constitution is republic, justice, liberty, and see, we have not used the word freedom. Liberty have more meaning than just freedom. Liberty is very much more important than freedom. So in the Constitution preamble, we have used the word liberty. And then there is equality, fraternity, and most importantly, dignity of the individual. And then comes the fundamental rights. Firstly, we have all these in the opening session, that is a preamble. We get an assurance that this Constitution is going to protect all your rights. Then comes the fundamental rights. That is in the part 3, articles 12 to 32. So in this category, we have basically 6 fundamental rights. Earlier, we have right to property, and later on, it is deleted and added as a legal right in 300A. Now we have 6 fundamental rights, and this fundamental rights, this is what we were discussing yesterday, the form of Bill of Rights of USA, Bill of Rights of United Kingdom, Bill of Magna Carta signed by King John. The essence of all these is the fundamental right. We have borrowed this fundamental right from the Bill of Rights of United States of America. And also the preamble also is borrowed from United States. So before going into the details of the fundamental rights, just watch what is happening when we think of equality, what is happening in India.
It happened on December 16th, 2012. India learned about Nirbhaya, which means fearless. Her struggle and death became a symbol of resistance to rape across the world. What happened in the heart of the national capital shook the entire nation. The victim, a 23-year-old woman, was returning home with a male friend after watching a movie. They boarded a bus around 9:30 p.m. in Munirka area in South Delhi. 6 of the accused, including the driver and the minor, were already present on the bus. What followed was sheer horror, something that will haunt humanity forever. Nirbhaya was assaulted with iron rods, gang raped, while the bus continued to move around the city. Medical reports later showed that she had suffered serious injuries to her abdomen, intestines, and genitals due to the assault. The police report said that Nirbhaya attempted to fight her assailants. She was found with numerous bite marks all over her body. The torture went on for more than 30 minutes, after which the attackers threw both the victims out of the moving bus. The partially clothed victims were later found on the road and admitted to a nearby hospital. The next day, the case made headlines across all news outlets as details of the case emerged, gruesome, monstrous, and spine-chilling. It ignited a widespread outrage across the country. India had decided enough is enough. Silent marches were taken out in Delhi, which later turned violent. Demonstrators were beaten charged, dispersed with water cannons and tear gas shells. Many of them were even arrested. The accused were arrested within 24 hours of the crime. The investigation continued, but so did the protests. The government was under intense pressure to act.
बहुत बार मैंने इस तरह की कृत्यों के लिए कहा है कि ऐसे लोगों को फांसी की सजा होनी चाहिए.
Justice for Nirbhaya became a clarion call. The Justice Verma Commission was appointed to suggest amendments to criminal law to sternly Mukshi. It happened.
So, no words to describe Nirbhaya's life, or I don't know what to describe her, and no punishments would equal to her sufferings. But collectively, it denotes all women who faces abuse, or all sufferings that we face today are even yet to be known to the society. So this Nirbhaya became an emotion to the Indian society. Hopefully the convicts are punished, so they got punishment for their deeds, but still this is happening even today. Even after the Nirbhaya case, even just 2-3 days after this incident, there was gang rape in Delhi itself. So we are not safe. Human rights violation is happening every day. So coming back to fundamental rights, we have 6 basic fundamental rights. The first one is right to equality. We have right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, then the right to freedom of religion, cultural and education rights, right to constitutional remedies. These are the 6 categories of fundamental rights. So firstly, we have right to equality. Do Nirbhaya was treated equally? രാത്രി പുറത്തിറങ്ങി നടക്കാനുള്ള സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യം ഇപ്പോഴും ഇന്ത്യയിൽ ആർക്കും ഇല്ല, സ്ത്രീകൾക്കില്ല. And what about the right to freedom? And there is no freedom at all. There is right against exploitation. Fundamental right is giving you so many protection, but in actuality what has happened, that is the human right violation part. So coming to the details of right to equality. Right to equality says that the state shall not deny any person equality before law. And also you are protected before law. So you are getting equal protection, as well as you shall not be denied any of your personal equality. You are equal before law. There should not be any discrimination. Hope you have watched the socially relevant movie Article 15. In this film, 2 girls from the low caste were found dead. And in this case, in this film, their father was arrested for their death. And in the film, the police officer is investigating this case, and he launches an attack against the caste-based discrimination, and the crimes are dismissed as dismissed, and the rural Indian reality is shown in this. And see, being local caste, the movie plots the avoidance of police officers in search of these 2 girls. This is a sad truth in India. And here is the importance of Article 15 comes to relevance. See the movie.
कजन थी दोनों लड़कियां, दोनों में संबंध था, दोनों के बाप मिलकर लटका दिए. तीसरी बच्ची का है सर, उसका कुछ पता नहीं चल रहा है.
ये भी दलित है क्या? हमारी लड़कियों का हत्या हुआ है साहब, और हमें तो केस बना रहे हैं साहब.
दिहाड़ी में 3 रुपए बढ़ाने को बोली थी वो लोग.
कितने रुपए?
3 रुपए.
किसने किया है?
मांझी के आश्रम के लड़के हैं सर।
कौन है मांझी?
मांझी है,
ऊंची जात के
ब्राह्मण है सर।
मतलब मैं और मांझी से?
अरे नहीं सर, वो कान्य कुछ ब्राह्मण है, वो सबसे टॉप वाले होते हैं। आप सरयू भाई
जो उस किताब की नहीं चलने देता जिसकी ये शपथ लेते हैं।
यही तो लड़ाई है निशाद, उस किताब की चलानी पड़ेगी, उसी से चलेगा देश।
So, as the film says, let us be Indians, lastly and firstly. Coming to see, we have seen, though the constitution is guaranteeing equality, there is definitely discrimination. But Article 15 says that there should not be, or the state shall not discriminate any citizen on grounds of religion, caste, sex, place of birth, and any of them. So, we are protected from non-discrimination. We have equality of opportunity. So, 16 says that you have equality of opportunity in public employment. We have so many instances. And when we say there is equality of opportunity, there is a restriction in the form of, we have a reservation policy. That is, we are giving those who doesn't have the opportunity. So some special care is given by the government. That is Article 16, equality of opportunity. Then abolition of untouchability, that is Article 17. And in Kerala, we are fortunate to have abolished, to a large extent, we don't have untouchability in our society, but this is not the case with the rest of the country. And next is to avoid discrimination inside the society. The government have abolished titles. Titles like Nawab, Raja, such titles are abolished. And for example, Bharat, that is a title or honor given by the government, but Supreme Court have abolished using it in the name. പണ്ട് നമ്മൾ ഭരത്, സുരേഷ് ഗോപി, ഭരത്, മോഹൻലാൽ എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുമായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷേ ഇപ്പം അത് അബോളിഷ് ചെയ്തു. പക്ഷേ ദീസ് ആർ ഓണേഴ്സ്. പക്ഷേ എന്നാൽ ഇപ്പം PhD കിട്ടുന്ന ഒരാൾ ഡോക്ടർ എന്ന് കൂടെ വെക്കുന്നതും മിലിറ്ററിയിൽ ലെഫ്റ്റനന്റ് കേണൽ ആവുന്നതും ഇറ്റ്സ് പെർമിറ്റഡ്. ബട്ട് ദോസ് അതർ ടൈറ്റിൽസ്, രാജ, നവാബ്, അങ്ങനത്തെ ടൈറ്റിൽസ് ഒന്നും ഉപയോഗിക്കാൻ പാടില്ല. ദിസ് ഇസ് ജസ്റ്റ് ടു അവോയ്ഡ് ദി ഡിസ്ക്രിമിനേഷൻ. ജസ്റ്റ് വാച്ച് ദിസ് മൂവി. This is the, I think many of you have come across this controversial incident.
I come from which India? I come from two Indias. Those are the Indias that I bring on stage with me right now.
So, this is the video of Veer Das. And in this video, I come from two Indias. This have gained recent worldwide attention. This Veer Das is a stand-up comedian, but soon after the release of this video, a complaint was filed against him for using derogatory language. So, where is our right to freedom of speech? India, or what is, just you analyze yourself.
I come from which India? I come from two Indias. Those are the Indias that I bring on stage with me right now. I come from an India where children in masks hold hands with each other, and yet I come from an India where leaders hug each other without masks. I come from an India where the AQI is 9,000, but we still sleep on the roof and look up at the stars. I come from an India where we worship women during the day and gang rape them at night. I come from an India where we claim to be divided over Bollywood on Twitter and yet are united by Bollywood in the darkness of the theatre. I come from an India where we scoff at sexuality and yet fuck till we reach 1 billion people. I come from an India where journalism is supposedly dead because men in fancy suits in studios give each other hand jobs, and yet women on the road with laptops are still telling the truth. I come from an India where we bleed blue every time we play green, but every time we lose the green, we turn orange all of a sudden.
So where is our freedom of or right to speech and expression? And India do need youngsters that are not afraid to speak the truth. He's telling so many truth, but system is afraid of what he is expressing or such type of expressions. So coming to the right to freedom, the most important thing is your freedom of speech and expression. Secondly, Indian Constitution guarantees you the freedom of assembly, freedom to form association, movement, residence, and profession. These are the 6 freedoms in Article 19. The most important is freedom of speech and expression. It is this freedom of speech and expression that guarantees journalist freedom in India, or the press freedom or the media freedom in the country. Now, you all might have remembered this incident. I don't need to brief. Hope I don't need a brief speech to introduce this guy. That is Madhu. He's not a celebrity. He was a human being. And he took food to ease his hunger and was beaten to death. The name of Madhu would always remain a shame to all Malayalis. And coming back to fundamental rights, Article 20 protects in respect of conviction of offenses. So we are protected against arbitrary and excessive punishment. But what had happened in the case of Madhu? So there are some loopholes, and we need to be more aware about our fundamental rights, as well as how we can use the constitutional protection. See the other video.
अगले साल लड़का सदियों से समाज ने आर्थिक स्वार्थ के कारण नवजात बालिका को पैदा होते ही खत्म करना अच्छा सोचा, लेकिन ये न सोचा कि एक दिन ये हल अपने आप में एक समस्या बन जाए।
So, to all the women who are gathered here, just think, what if our right to life and personal dignity was snatched away from us shamingly? I have to say, females feticide is still happening in Indian society across the country. Not only women, all human beings have their right to life. So this is the film Madhrubhumi, directed by Manish Jha in 2004. And this is a real life situation from a rural village in Bihar. In that particular place, they kill all the female. They are just giving to Madhrubhumi, or offering the girl child, newly born girl child, to the earth, and believing that next year they will get a baby boy. So the end of the story is, end of the film plot is that at last that area, they don't have any women there, no women to marry, no families. So the whole village ends up in disaster. That is the story of Madhrubhumi, directed by Manish Jha. But my question is, do all these women, all these girl child, they also have right to life? The Constitution under Article 21 directly says that your life is protected and you have personal liberty. So personal liberty, as well as that personal liberty, that is not, the word is used as liberty and not simply freedom. So as per Constitution Article 21, we have protection of our life, we have right to life, as well as personal liberty. And also Article 21A says that you have right to education. All children up to the age of 14 have free and compulsory education as per the Constitution Amendment, 86 Constitutional Amendment. And next is Article 22, that is arbitrary arrest and detention is also, you need to be informed what is the reason of arrest. And after your arrest also, you cannot be detained. And you should be produced before the nearest magistrate within 24 hours. This is your guarantee by the Constitution. And next is a video about children. Yesterday we have discussed so many videos, so many instances about how discrimination is happening, how child right is protected, or how child right is facing hindrances, etc. Now it is a video about how a child is denied his basic right and forced to work in hazardous industries in India.
मेरा नाम है मोहम्मद। मैं इंदौर सैदाबाद में काम करता था 6 महीने से। और गांव में मेरा ठेकेदार आया, बोला कि चलो वहाँ पे पढ़ाई करने के, खेलने के सब मिलेगा, वहाँ पे ही धमका चमका के ले आया।
9 बजे काम पे लगते थे, 11-12 बजे रात तक काम करते थे। पूरे हफ्ते में ना घूमने की टाइम, ना कुछ। हफ्ते में 1-2 दिन बाहर नहाने दे रहा था।
वहाँ से नहीं भागे इसलिए कि कहीं हरा जैसे गाँव को पता नहीं था, इसलिए नहीं भागा बस। पापा है, मम्मी नहीं है, खत्म हो गया। सतला मम्मी है। मुझे मिलने कोई नहीं आया, अब यहीं पे रहूंगा मैं। अगर कोई नहीं है तो आ जाएगा, ठीक है। अगर पता लग जाएगा मम्मी पापा को। भाई यहाँ पे सिर्फ काम करो और खाओ रहो। 2500 मिलता था एक महीने।
दो तरह की ट्रैफिकिंग होती है। एक ट्रैफिकिंग है फोर्स लेबर के लिए, जिसमें चाइल्ड डोमेस्टिक लेबर जो है बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट एरिया है, और दूसरा है सेक्स ट्रैफिकिंग का। तो सेक्स ट्रैफिकिंग का जो है उनको लाना और फिर उनको सेक्स ट्रेड में डालना। चाइल्ड डोमेस्टिक लेबर के लिए अगर ट्रैफिकिंग हो रही है तो ज्यादातर इसमें प्लेसमेंट एजेंसीज इन्वॉल्व है, और प्लेसमेंट एजेंसी लाती है तो उनका केवल एक रोल नहीं है कि वो केवल चाइल्ड डोमेस्टिक लेबर के लिए भेजें, वो सेक्स ट्रेड के लिए भी भेजती है।
So the Article 23 and 24, right against exploitation. Article 23 prohibits trafficking in human being, that is prostitution, begging, etc. is all sorts of such exploitations are prohibited by law, by the Constitution, Article 23. And Article 24 prohibits employing children below the age of 14 years in any hazardous profession. So what is the reality and what Constitution is giving us? Then this is a Netflix series that is
No one can be
Suitable
sure
Boy.
what the future will be. You will marry a boy I choose. I don't think I ever want to get married. India is a free country now.
Your sister, my brother, I'm supposed to be next.
Who is he, this boy you have been seen with? We should follow our own hearts.
Nobody even meant anything to me till I met you. His obsession with that woman. Have you no shame at all?
He's a Muslim, Lata.
Your family will be against him.
One day I will make you proud.
So some of you have seen this Netflix series, The Suitable Boy, this adaptation of award-winning novel by Vikram Seth. And in this story was banned, or there was some people accused that this series is promoting love jihad. And now the question comes: Article 25 allows us to have us to follow any religion. We have the freedom to choose to practice, profess, and propagate any religion. But in hard reality, that is not the case. And you all are familiar with honor killings. Even in Kerala, we are familiar with honor killings for last some years. So this is the Constitution, Article 25 to 28 is giving you the freedom, right to freedom of religion. But there are some missing links to enjoy your freedom. And then the rights to the minorities, especially the cultural and educational rights. So then comes the next question. Who are the minorities in India? They are not, as generally we think, they are not the backward classes. The minorities in India, as per the Constitution of India, is those two categories. Those minorities based on religion, as well as minorities on the basis of their linguistic minority status. So only religious minorities and language minorities or linguistic minorities are considered under Article 23, 29 and 30 for cultural and educational rights. So we have religious minorities, specific religions are there, and recently there is a constitutional amendment which guarantees or restricts the rights of minorities. So we have two minorities, that is a religious minorities and linguistic minorities. As per the Constitution 29 and 30, we have certain rights to conserve the language, the script, culture of these minority communities. Then there are right to constitutional remedies. We have, as per Constitution, Article 32 and Article 32, Supreme Court has the power to enforce your rights if any of them are infringed or violated by the institution, state, or other individual. So these are known as Article 32 gives power to the Supreme Court to execute writs. And you may be familiar with habeas corpus. There are habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, certiorari, and quo warranto. These are the writs by which constitutional remedies can be achieved or can be executed or enforced. And these writs, Supreme Court can use these writs on the basis of Article 32, and on the basis of Article 226, High Courts can also express these rights, that is habeas corpus, mandamus, certiorari, quo warranto, and prohibition. If your right to life is restricted by someone, you can move to court. ഇപ്പോൾ ആരെങ്കിലും ഹേബിയസ് കോർപ്പസ് കൊണ്ട് കൊടുക്കുന്നു എന്നുള്ളത് നിങ്ങൾ എല്ലാവരും കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടാവും അല്ലേ? And the other things, that is mandamus, certiorari, quo warranto, and prohibition is something more specifically some instruction to the higher authority, to the lower authority by the higher authority, to some officials, some administrators, etc. Individual can make use of all these writs for enforcing your fundamental rights. So we have the preamble that gives certain certain basic concepts, values, that is essential for human rights. And also we have constitutional fundamental right to protect our basic rights. And then comes the fundamental duties. So when something is given to you in the form of fundamental rights, the state is expecting something from you. That is the fundamental rights. We have 11 fundamental rights in India. That is the duties towards the state. Fundamental rights are 6 and fundamental duties are 11. And this is included in the Article 51A of the Constitution, Part 4A. And Part 4 is Directive Principles of State Policy, and Part 4A is the fundamental duties. I'm not going into the details of this. And one thing is there, Article 21A gives your protects your fundamental right to have right to education, and this was included in the 86 Constitution Amendment. And there was a provision in the Directive Principles of State Policy to encourage the parents to send their children to schools. And also we have added it as a duty of all parents and guardians to send their children in the age group 6 to 14 to school. So it is a right, a directive, as well as a fundamental duty of Indian citizen. And now, what is the hard reality? Do we have fundamentally, do all our rights are fundamentally protected? So one thing you should keep in mind that state can suspend fundamental right when emergency is declared. So when emergency is declared by the president, all these fundamental rights are not, it should not be enforceable. And secondly, there are, or the state can impose reasonable restriction. For example, we say that we claim that we have the right to life as per Article 21. But the state can impose reasonable restriction if you as a person is a hazard in the society. So state can impose reasonable restriction. That is known as preventive detention, Article 22. As per Article 22, there is preventive detention. So there is a contradiction in the fundamental rights itself. That is a violation, or that is directly violating human rights as per UDHR. Even then, we can claim that fundamental rights are protecting the existence, dignity, equality, freedom of individual to a large extent. Now, coming to the various redressal mechanisms of human rights in India. Firstly, we have National Human Rights Commission. So the major redressal mechanisms or institutions are, one is National Human Rights Commission, then we have state human rights commissions in almost all states, then there is judiciary, there is police, there is media, then we have Women's Commission, Child Rights Commission, Commission for the Protection of Scheduled Caste, Minorities and Scheduled Tribes. So National Human Rights Commission, it's composed of a retired Chief Justice of Indian Supreme Court. Only a retired Supreme Court Chief Justice can be the chairman of National Human Rights Commission. And there can be two Chief Justices of state legislatures, state judiciary, retired persons from state judiciary. Then there could be people who have knowledge, that is those human rights activists or those judges or advocates who have knowledge about human rights can be the members. So this is appointed, the members are appointed by the president. But our concern is, what is the actual function of National Human Rights Commission? It can directly inquire into violations of human rights. There need not be any complaint. Even then, on the basis of a newspaper report, National Human Rights Commission or the State Human Rights Commission can intervene and conduct inquiry. Then, wherever there is negligence from the part of a public servant, from the part of a police, from the part of other agencies, other administrative bodies or a public servant, then Human Rights Commission can intervene. So, all basic human rights protection or that is necessary to protect human rights in the country can be done by National Human Rights Commission. But even if they have so many rights specified, that is a statutory body, but there are some restrictions to all these bodies. That is, whether it is a Human Rights Commission, whether it is National or State Human Rights Commission, whether it is Women's Commission, all these are statutory bodies. And they don't have judicial or executive powers. അതായത് നാഷണൽ ഹ്യൂമൻ റൈറ്റ്സ് കമ്മീഷൻ ഇപ്പൊ പറയുവാണ്, കേരള സർക്കാർ അട്ടപ്പാടിയിൽ പട്ടിണി മരണം നടക്കുന്നു. അട്ടപ്പാടി ഇപ്പൊ നിങ്ങൾ കേട്ട് കാണും, വയനാട്ടിലെ ഊരുകളിലേക്ക് അവിടെ പട്ടിണി മരണം കൂടുന്നു, ശിശുമരണം കൂടുന്നു എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് പത്രവാർത്തകൾ വരുന്നു. And National Human Rights Commission is asking state government to look into the issue and solve it as early as possible. പിന്നെ അവിടെയുള്ള ആൾക്കാർക്ക് ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിൽ എത്തണേ മാനന്തവാടി വരെ വരാൻ വേണ്ടി അവർക്ക് ആംബുലൻസ് ഇല്ല. Commission is asking government to provide that. അപ്പോൾ കേട്ടു, they can give recommendations or advices. They don't have judicial powers or executive powers. Judicial powers ഉം executive powers ഉം ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ എന്ത് സംഭവിക്കും? There is a system. We have a federating system. We have central government, we have state governments, and there is a police system, there is a judicial system, there is a legislative system. And this commissions doesn't have any place in any of this structure. They are still outside the system. So what is the need of the hour is not constituting more commissions. What is the need of the hour is there should be some interference from the part of the government, from the part of the system, to give more powers rather than advisory or advisory or recommendatory powers. These commissions should be given judicial as well as executive powers. ഇപ്പൊ എന്താ സംഭവിക്കുന്ന വെച്ചാൽ അവർക്ക് ഇപ്പം ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ if an officer is, if someone from the commission is visiting an orphanage or an old age home or jail, if the condition situation there is very pathetic, they can just give direction. ഇതൊക്കെ വൃത്തിയായിട്ട് സൂക്ഷിക്കണം, ഇവരുടെ കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ നല്ലതായിട്ട് നോക്കണം, അവർക്ക് നല്ല കെയർ കൊടുക്കണം എന്നിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞു പോകാനേ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. നാളെ പോയിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾ എന്തുകൊണ്ട് അത് ചെയ്തില്ല എന്ന് ചോദിക്കാനുള്ള അത് കമ്മീഷനുകൾക്ക് ഇല്ല എന്നുള്ളതാണ് ഹാർഡ് റിയാലിറ്റി. സോ need of the hour is UDHR, after the acceptance of UDHR in the form of the Protection of Human Rights Act in 1993, we have constituted human rights commissions at the central level. We have constituted women's commission at the center as well as in the states, but still they are in the infancy. So some interference is needed to make it more active. Also, there should be the need of the hour is there should be the constitution of human rights court. സാധാരണ നമ്മൾ മനുഷ്യാവകാശ ലംഘനവുമായി ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട ഒരു കേസ് കോടതി കൊടുക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ they will consider it only after considering all the civil and criminal cases. Criminal caseനും civil caseനും കിട്ടുന്ന ഒരു acceptance ഒരിക്കലും human right violation കിട്ടത്തില്ല. And what is the role of these commissions? They can just give, ഇപ്പൊ ഭാര്യയും ഭർത്താവും തമ്മിലുള്ള ഒരു ഡൊമസ്റ്റിക് വയലൻസ് കേസ് വന്നു, രണ്ടുപേരെയും വിളിച്ചിരുത്തി ഇനി അങ്ങനെയൊന്നും ഉണ്ടാവരുത് കേട്ടോ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു വിടാനേ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. So more powers needs to be given to these commissions. That is the need of the hour. And otherwise, they can investigate, examine, give reports, or if central government is entering into some international treaties, then they can make some recommendations. All these reviews, etc., can be done. Nothing more than that. They have advisory powers. They have recommended. They don't have executive or judicial powers. That makes all these commissions more handicapped. So next comes the more vibrant one, that is the judiciary. That Indian Constitution is giving you certain rights in the form of fundamental rights. So, and these fundamental rights needs to be protected with the help of judiciary as per Article 32 and 226. That is, these writs can enforce your fundamental rights. And also there are some other mechanisms, that is PIL, public interest litigation, SAL, social action litigation, suo motu cases, നിങ്ങൾ കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടല്ലോ പൊതു താൽപര്യ ഹർജി, അതാണ് പബ്ലിക് ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റ് ലിറ്റിഗേഷൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, പൊതു താൽപര്യ ഹർജി. നിങ്ങൾ ഈ വാദിയും പ്രതിയും ആകണ്ട, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് പൊതു ജനങ്ങളുടെ താല്പര്യാർത്ഥം നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കേസ് കൊടുക്കാം. റോഡെല്ലാം പൊട്ടിപ്പൊളിഞ്ഞു കിടക്കുന്നു, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഓരോ പ്രാവശ്യം ഒരു ഡിസാസ്റ്റർ വരുമ്പോഴും നമ്മൾ ഭയങ്കരമായി കടൽ തീരത്തുള്ളവർ ദുരിതം അനുഭവിക്കുന്നു. ഇങ്ങനത്തെ എന്ത് പൊതുജന താല്പര്യ വിഷയം വന്നാലും നിങ്ങൾ വാദിയും പ്രതിയും ഒന്നും ആവണ്ട. ആസ് എ കോമൺ മെൻ യു ക്യാൻ റേസ് യുവർ വോയിസ്. That is judicial activism. This is a contribution of Indian judiciary. നമ്മുടെ മലയാളിയായിരുന്ന ജസ്റ്റിസ് VR കൃഷ്ണയ്യരും ജസ്റ്റിസ് ഭഗവതിയും ഒക്കെ കൂടെ ഉണ്ടാക്കിയ ഒരു സാധനമാണ് പബ്ലിക് ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റ് ലിറ്റിഗേഷൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. Then we have suo motu cases. That means സ്വമേധയാ കേസ് എടുക്കാം. രാവിലെ പത്രത്തിൽ ഒരു വാർത്ത കണ്ടാൽ മതി, court can take action on that particular issue if that is somewhat helpful for the society as a whole. Take the case, ഒരു എക്സാമ്പിൾ പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ എറണാകുളം നഗരത്തിൽ രാവിലെ ഒരു ജഡ്ജ് കോടതിയിലോട്ട് പോകാൻ നോക്കുമ്പോൾ ഒരു പെർട്ടിക്കുലർ പാർട്ടി റോഡ് ബ്ലോക്ക് ചെയ്തിട്ട്, എറണാകുളം ഭയങ്കര കൺജസ്റ്റഡ് ആണ്, അവിടുത്തെ ട്രാഫിക് നമുക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും അറിയാം. അതിന്റെ കൂട്ടത്തിൽ ഒരു സമരം കൂടെ ഉണ്ടായാലോ, എന്ത് ദുരന്തമായിരിക്കും, എത്ര പേർക്ക് സമയത്തിന് ഓഫീസിൽ ചെല്ലാൻ പറ്റും. അപ്പോൾ നേരെ അവിടെ ചെന്നിട്ട് പുള്ളി സ്വമേധയാ ഈ വിഷയത്തിൽ കേസെടുത്തു. പുള്ളി റൂളിംഗ് നടത്തി ദാറ്റ് രാഷ്ട്രീയ പാർട്ടികൾ പൊതുനിരത്തുകൾ കൈയടക്കി സമര പരിപാടികൾ നടത്തരുത്. അവിടെയും ഹ്യൂമൻ റൈറ്റ്സ് ആംഗിൾ ഉണ്ട്, ബട്ട് ഐ ആം റെഫറിംഗ് ടു ദ ഇന്റർഫിയറൻസ് ഓഫ് ജുഡീഷ്യറി ടു പ്രൊട്ടക്ട് the rights of people. Then we have judicial review and rule of law. Rule of law means all are equal before law. But the problem here is, നമ്മളൊരു കേസ് കൊടുക്കുന്നു. ഇപ്പോൾ റീസെന്റ് ആയിട്ട് ഞാനൊരു ഹ്യൂമൻ റൈറ്റ്, അതായത് 6ാം ക്ലാസ്സിൽ പഠിച്ചപ്പോൾ ഒരാളുടെ കണ്ണിൽ ഒരു ടീച്ചർ ചോക്ക് എറിഞ്ഞിട്ട് കണ്ണിന്റെ കാഴ്ച പോയി. എപ്പോഴാ അയാൾക്ക് 38 വയസ്സായപ്പോഴാണ് ടീച്ചർ റിട്ടയർ ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞ 6 വർഷം കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ് അയാൾക്ക് നീതി കിട്ടുന്നത്. സോ ജസ്റ്റിസ് ഡിലേഡ് ഇസ് ജസ്റ്റിസ് ഡിനൈഡ്. അപ്പോൾ ജുഡീഷ്യറിയെ നമുക്ക് കുറ്റം പറയാൻ പറ്റത്തില്ല. വൈ? They have lots and lots of civil and criminal cases to address every day. And these human rights cases will get chance only after addressing the civil and criminal cases. The priority of judiciary is always the other cases and not human right violation. So need of the hour is the establishment of a separate human right court at the national level as well as state level to especially or specifically addressing these human rights cases. So judiciary is there And if there is delay in action, then we must say justice delayed is justice denied. And next comes police. We have seen so many brutality done by police in the video. Even in the first video of JPM we have seen. And we are familiar with the police atrocities and tortures. So we can say that this police have three phases. At some places they are the savior. At some point they are the victims. And thirdly, they are the abusing force. ഇപ്പോൾ എന്താ പറയുക, ഒരു സംഘടനം ഉണ്ടാകുന്നു, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു ലഹള ഉണ്ടാകുന്നു, പോലീസുകാർക്കും പരിക്ക് പറ്റാം അല്ലേ? In that case, they are victims. But other two things, that is a savior and abusing force. So in many cases, police violates human rights. And there are instances of custodial death. We have the Rajan case. Since Rajan case, we can say there are several custodial death cases even in India, in Kerala. Then there is fake encounters and tortures and cruelty. And as a whole, Indian police system, we must say that when it comes to human rights issues, there are corruption. നമ്മൾ കണ്ടിട്ടുള്ള ഇപ്പോൾ Article 15 ഫിലിമിലായാലും there is we can see the corrupt police system. Then definitely there is illegal detention. And what is the role of media in protecting human rights as a redressal mechanism? Whenever there is a sensationalism, media will take up the case. Media will act as a mediator or negotiator. And today there is lack of ethics when it comes to human rights cases. Definitely we must say that there is competition. It is the survival of the fittest. So they will go for the paid news syndrome. And what happens in the social media, in the cyberspace, that Veerdas said, the true journalist is afraid of the system. They don't have freedom. They are fearful in a democratic system even. But what happens? Those with the laptops in the streets, they can write anything. Was it fair? What is the condition of privacy in that space? So there is a contradiction. That is, there is right. What happens to your right to privacy according to Article 21, and what is the violation of your freedom of speech as per Article 19(1)(a). So these two are contradictory in case of media. Just one simple example. You have already seen the video of Madhu. And after the death of Madhu, that was celebrated by media in Kerala. Just for 2 days. Third day, what happens? Sri Devi, the Hindi actress, was found dead in a bathtub in a hotel in Dubai. So everything changed. The whole attention, the center page, from first page to center page, everything, the op-ed, everything was carried by those pictures, her biography, photos, and the other stories, yellow stories, everything. That is the sensationalism part, which is more relevant for the media. We cannot blame them. We cannot blame them. It is part of the competition. It is part of their survival. But there should be a media, a strong media, to talk for the human rights violators, talk against the violators, and talk for the victims. There should be some mechanism, especially it is a media who can express it freely. So media can do much better than what is happening today. And the issue is whether those who are the victims, are they able to buy newspapers? All these tribals or Dalits or these marginalized sections, are they financially, socially capable enough to read? So the issue of illiteracy is there. Their buying capacity is there. this news and the space and the time, the visual media, everything is on the basis of time and space. So money matters than human rights violation. That is what I feel. And I would like to call your attention to another most crucial thing. That is, just watch this video. You may have seen this. So this was the ad of Bhima Jewelers, and just watch one more. So this was the ad of Bhima Jewelers, and was this the case some years before? വീട്ടിനകത്ത് ഒരാളെ ട്രാൻസ്ജെൻഡർ ആണെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അയാളെ അക്സെപ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ സൊസൈറ്റി, വീട്ടുകാർ വല്ലതും അക്സെപ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുമായിരുന്നോ? ഇല്ല. But situation have changed. And earlier in films, even in Malayalam films, we see these characters as comedians. ഇപ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ ജഗതിയുടെയും സലീം കുമാറിന്റെയും ഒക്കെ ഇത്തരം വിഡ്ഢി വേഷങ്ങളായിട്ട് ചിരിച്ച് കാണിച്ചിരുന്നതായിട്ട് നമ്മൾ ഇതിനെ കണ്ടിരുന്നുള്ളൂ. But situation have changed. These transgenders or LGBTs are accepted by the society. That is a major change. So the human rights of these people. So we are aware of these rights, and also society is ready to accept their rights. That is a major change or gradual improvement day by day in our society. So coming to what are the major human rights issues we face in India? We have our rights to be protected by the Constitution. We have some mechanisms or redressal mechanism in India. And even then, just we have discussed so many issues, just underlying or giving you more idea about the issues we are facing, human rights violation issues. So firstly, there is marginalization. As in every societies, in Indian society also we have marginalization. There is marginalization in the form of gender marginalization. Women is marginalized, children is marginalized. So is the case with Dalits, Adivasis, the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. And there is the issue of arbitrary arrest and detention, custodial tortures. ഇപ്പോൾ നക്സലൈറ്റ്സ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്ന സമയത്താണ് രാജനെ കാണാതായത്. Even then, even now, even today, we have instances of arbitrary arrest. കഴിഞ്ഞ 1-2 വർഷങ്ങൾ ആലോചിച്ച് നോക്കിയാൽ എത്ര ആർബിട്രറി അറസ്റ്റ് നമ്മുടെ സൊസൈറ്റിയിൽ നടന്നിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. And what about the custodial tortures? Actually, East India Company, there was a major move from the British Parliament in 1795. It was against English East India Company's tortures, brutality in India. അന്നത്തെ കാലത്ത് ഈ മൂന്നാം മുറ എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്ന സാധനം അബോളിഷ് ചെയ്യണം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് ബ്രിട്ടീഷ് പാർലമെന്റ് തീരുമാനം എടുത്തതാണ്. ബട്ട് സ്റ്റിൽ വി ആർ ഹാവിങ് കസ്റ്റോഡിയൽ ടോർച്ചേഴ്സ്. ദൃശ്യം സിനിമയിലെ സീനൊക്കെ നിങ്ങൾ ഓർക്കുന്നുണ്ടാവുമല്ലോ. ആൻഡ് വി ഹാവ് ചൈൽഡ് ലേബർ, violence and discrimination against women, children, extrajudicial killings, and power. ഏതൊക്കെ തരത്തിൽ പവർ നമ്മൾ ഇത് ചെയ്യുന്നു. This is a video about the tribals, the situation of tribals in India.
Far from the crowded cities, deep in the forest hills, live India's tribal people.
Tribals are not part of the mainstream society. They have been living in the hills, within the forests, for centuries.
You know, these are people who were seen as encroachers on their own land. You know, for decades or centuries, these people were seen as there but should not have been there. Particularly with the advent of the British colonial rule, where the forests and the common land were all kind of claimed as king's property.
For centuries, people lived here with no claim to the land where they gathered food, planted crops, and built their homes.
So, tribals or Adivasis are considered as the encroachers of their own land. Who's protecting their rights? Technically, they are not part of India. അങ്ങനെയുള്ള മനുഷ്യർ ജീവിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നതെന്ന് പോലും ഇന്ത്യയിൽ ഒരു കണക്കുമില്ല, ഒരു രേഖകളിലുമില്ല. They don't have Aadhaar, they don't have a ration card, they don't have voters ID. And voters ID ഇല്ലാത്തത് കൊണ്ട് തന്നെ മെയിൻ സ്ട്രീം പൊളിറ്റീഷ്യൻസ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അങ്ങനെയുള്ള ആർക്കും അവരെ കുറിച്ച് മനുഷ്യരെന്നൊരു പരിഗണന പോലുമില്ല. So coming back to the major human rights issues, we have sexual violence and abuse is there, the issues of LGBT community, SC, ST, SC, disabled people, and other religious minority issues, labor right to work, conflict-induced internal displacement we have already discussed yesterday, manual scavenging, right to development, and right to shelter. So here I would like to point these last two, that is right to development and right to shelter. I hope you remember yesterday's video on Narmada.
Human rights violations.
So thousands of people are displaced from the forest to build a particular dam. And who is benefited when this dam is built? It is not the Adivasis. It is not the people who are displaced. They are still living as landless. They don't have shelter. And when they are displaced from their own land, government promised that they will be given shelter. But for many years, Narmada Medha Patkar and her people, they are still in struggle. So once you are displaced from your own land, from tomorrow onwards, you are refugees. And you are unidentified people. You don't have any identity. You won't be considered as citizens. So right to development is the basic right of individual. So in 1986, the United Nations passed a resolution that right to development is a human right concern of every individual. It is not something exclusively considered as a right of a state. When right to development is a concern or priority of state, they are neglecting basic human rights. That needs to be avoided. So whenever a state is going for development, state should see that there should be some mechanism to provide security, safety, and shelter, and protect the right to life of every individual. That is very important.
Human rights violations. Well, human rights in India are complicated by its rapidly growing economy and diverse population. The country has nearly 1.3 billion residents, with millions of residents living on less than $2 a day. Low caste citizens, along with religious minorities, suffer the most from sexual violence, police brutality, economic exploitation, and unlawful imprisonment. One reason why human rights violations like these persist is India's broken and corrupt justice system. Human rights violations. Well, human rights in India are...
So, this is the hard reality we are facing in India. Still, though we have the constitution and other mechanism, we are still living under misery, abuse, torture, etc. Human right condition in India is really under threat. So I would like to call your attention to one more important thing, that is disability rights. What is the actual situation of people with disability? There are about 2.68 crore disabled people in India, which is nearer to Kerala's population. So 2.68 crore people are there with disability. This is 2011 census. There may be more than that. And what is the actual condition? They may be with some mental health issues, or they may be with other immunity issues or disability. And as far as the country is concerned, these people, they don't have facilities in research center. They don't have facilities or mobility facilities in our colleges, schools, or other research centers. Excuse me, someone's mic is on. Can you mute it? And also, there is no facility facility like wheelchair equality, facility for equality, etc. So, this disabled people, they need our consideration, and they don't need our sympathy. They are able, they have the right to, they are equal like ours, so equal like us, so they have the right to do things, study, educate, everything. So this world belongs to them also. We need to consider them and we need to accept whatever is reserved for us should be shared to others also. So government should take some measures to incorporate facilities for those disabled people. They don't need sympathy. They need our acceptance. They need more facilities. So we must consider the rights of disabled as well. And at last, I would like to call your attention. You're all familiar with this.
IAS. Yes, IAS. Indian Bharana Service. ആ പദവിയുടെ അർത്ഥം എന്താണെന്നറിയോ നിനക്ക്? അതറിയണമെങ്കിൽ ആദ്യം ഇന്ത്യ എന്താണെന്ന് നീ അറിയണം. അക്ഷരങ്ങൾ അച്ചടിച്ചു കൂട്ടിയ പുസ്തകത്താൽ നിന്നും നീ പഠിച്ച ഇന്ത്യ അല്ല അനുഭവങ്ങളുടെ ഇന്ത്യ. കോടിക്കണക്കായ പട്ടിണിക്കാരുടെയും നിരക്ഷരരുടെയും ഇന്ത്യ, കൂട്ടിക്കൊടുപ്പുകാരുടെയും വേശ്യകളുടെയും തോട്ടകളുടെയും കുറ്റരോഗികളുടെയും ഇന്ത്യ, ജഡ്ക വലിച്ചു വലിച്ച് ചുമച്ച് ചോര തുപ്പുന്നവന്റെ ഇന്ത്യ, വളർത്തുനായി കൊടുക്കുന്ന ബേബി ഫുഡിൽ കൊഴുപ്പിന്റെ അളവ് കൂടിപ്പോയതിന് ഭർത്താവിന് ശാസിച്ച് അത്താഴപ്പട്ടിണിക്കിടുന്ന കൊച്ചമ്മമാരുടെ ഇന്ത്യ അല്ല. മക്കൾക്ക് ഒരു നേരം വയറുറച്ച് മാറി ഉണ്ണാൻ വക തേടി സ്വന്തം ഗർഭപാത്രം വരവിൽക്കുന്ന അമ്മമാരുടെ ഇന്ത്യ. ഇന്നലെ നീ അവമാനിച്ച് ചാട്ടിയിറക്കി വിട്ടില്ലേ, ആ കൃഷ്ണേട്ടനെ പോലെയുള്ള പാവം മനുഷ്യരുടെ ത്യാഗങ്ങളുടെയും നൊമ്പരങ്ങളുടെയും ഇന്ത്യ. ഇന്ത്യ എന്ന മഹാരാജ്യത്തിന്റെ സോൾ, ആത്മാവ്. IAS അക്കാദമി വർഷാവർഷം അടവച്ച് വിരിച്ചെടുക്കുന്ന നിന്നെ പോലുള്ള സ്നോബുകൾക്ക് ഈ ആത്മാവ് തൊട്ടറിയാനുള്ള സെൻസ് ഉണ്ടാവണം, സെൻസിബിലിറ്റി ഉണ്ടാവണം, സെൻസിറ്റിവിറ്റി ഉണ്ടാവണം.
Dear friends, so I hope with this 2-day lecture, you will have sense about human rights. You will be more sensible about human rights and sensitive towards all our brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now it's time for an interactive session. I request the participants to leave their doubts in the comment section. Okay, now I welcome Dr. Vinci Mary Vargas, the program coordinator, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Irene. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
A warm good evening to one and all. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I express my heartfelt gratitude to the director of the self-financing stream, Dr. Teddy Kanyu-Parambil, for his support and guidance. I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our hearty thanks to Dr. Gigi Jacob, head of the department. Thank you, ma'am, for your gracious presence and guidance. I thank Dr. Jomon KV, head of the Department of Zoology, and Dr. Binu Matthew, IQAC coordinator, for associating with us. Dr. Ronie Thomas, the speaker of the day, in spite of a hectic schedule, is a reflection of the importance that is attached to the commitment of the profession to quality augmentation. We are grateful for your inspiring lecture on human rights. I, on behalf of the St. Berkman's family, faculties of the Department of Microbiology and Biochemistry, students, and on my own behalf, extend you a very hearty vote of thanks for gracing this function and sharing your perspectives of this very relevant topic. Thank you, ma'am. I take this opportunity to thank the HODs and the faculty members of various departments for their support and participation. My heartfelt thanks to the student community of different departments for their evincing interest in participating. I thank Irene Maria Jo for comparing the program and Mitra R. Chandran for the technical support rendered throughout the program. Once again, I thank you all for your attention and participation. Thank you.